What's going on, you guys? This is All1, and I'm going to be giving you guys another New World Guide video for Dungeons. This one is going to be for Garden of Genesis, also known as Genesis. So this is also going to be in a tank point of view, so not a DPS or healer, but you will be able to still see the mechanics for certain bosses and just like what we basically do in the dungeon. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So right here, right at the beginning, you're going to have a hive and then 3 ads. Just go ahead as a tank, you're going to pull these ads away from the hive because you don't want to have them die on the hive. I mean, you can technically kill them at the same time as the hive, but the reason why you don't want them to die before the hive is because they can respawn, and these fiends actually do a lot of damage, so make sure you are constantly blocking and keeping the aggro, as well as having your healer keeping you healed. So now for this part, this is going to be your first named elite that you're going to be fighting, and these guys hit extremely hard, but they are not named bosses. So as a tank, you obviously want to try to take aggro of all 3 enemies, but you don't necessarily need to keep aggro of, I guess, let's say the soldier. The fiend is probably more important, as well as the named elite. But in this point, or for this example right here, they were able to focus on the named elite while I had aggro on the other 2 ads, and after they killed the named elite, then they were able to focus on both the ads that me and the healer both had. So we have another hive here, and there's going to actually be more than just these guys. You're going to have other ads as well, as the soldier, another fiend, and archers. As a tank, just make sure you can get the fiends aggro right away. You don't want them to start wailing on any of your DPSs or healers, because all 3 of them hitting will hurt. And then once the hive is destroyed, have the DPSs focus on the fiends to get them out of the way, and then just go ahead and get the summoner and the soldier and whatever other ads are nearby, get their aggro as well. It's probably the best to just get the soldiers aggros and then have the DPSs focus on the ranged enemies, just so it's easier to just take them out first. Also, something I would like to mention is for the DPSs out there, if you're using fire or you're a fire mage, those are going to be honestly the best I guess DPS uses, because these enemies are extremely weak to fire, and if your fire staff has damage to angry earth, then that's even more damage. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, you can really use anything that works, but fire definitely does the most damage. Now we're going to be going to our first actual named boss. So this boss is no doubt the easiest boss you're going to see in this dungeon, because all you have to do is just hold the taunt or hold the aggro, and everyone basically DPSs him. As long as you're blocking a lot of his attacks, you don't really have much to worry about. If you are a lower item leveled player, or you don't have a pretty good shields, or you just can't really keep your stamina up for some reason, just know that he can hit pretty hard on your stamina. So it's going to be pretty important to know what attacks you, or not what attacks you can block. You obviously want to block all attacks, but just know when you don't need to block, so that way you can just get your stamina back a little bit faster. And then but yeah, as you can see, his health is pretty much just being destroyed, because we have fire and we have slash and the guy, his name is Bob Ross, he has a really strong spear as well and a strong bow. So this fight is really going to go quick. But again, if you really just want to speed run through this, I would highly recommend having 3 fire mage DPSs, a healer, and a tank, and everything will just honestly be cake. And we're just going to have another hive situation here. So basically, again, rinse and repeat, just aggro all the fiends and then go ahead and let your DPSs kill the hive and then kill the fiends. Or again, you could just put the fiends stacked on top of the hive and have them die at the same time the hive dies. So right here, there's going to be a bunch of fiends plus another named elite that you're going to have to tank. I would make sure you taunt, use your defiant stance, and then just hold block the entire time. Because if you're not blocking, they will instantly kill you, pretty much. And yeah, just hold block as much as you can and let them gather up around you. And then just have your DPSs obviously cleave them down. So here you're gonna have to actually end up protecting the Azoth seed or Azoth tree, and it's just basically a wave-based little activity, I guess you want to call it, mechanic. We haven't inserted it yet, but we do here. And what happens if the tree ends up dying is you just have to redo that part again. So just make sure if you're the tank, you go around making sure these enemies are taunted, aggroed on you, so that way they're not actually damaging the tree rather than just actually going towards you. But do keep in mind there are going to be a bunch of enemies. So make sure you have your Defiant stance ready and your cooldowns and your riposte if you use rapier or stuns if you use a hammer, etc., etc. Even a great axe being able to pull the enemies away from the tree is also really nice. But yeah, I mean it's really not hard. All you have to do is just keep them away from the tree and you let the tree stay alive for like a couple minutes and you're pretty solid. And here's what happens when you don't block when you have a little under half health. You just pretty much get one-shotted, even as a tank. So again, make sure you are blocking as much as possible when you do some pretty decent pulls. When I say decent, I mean like around 3 or 4 enemies. You might want to just hold block, make sure you have aggro and hold block. So now for this next boss, it's going to be a little bit different from what you've seen in any other dungeon because this boss does a or a few different interesting, I guess, mechanics. So one of them, he's going to. I don't really think it's range based, but it does seem like it is, or distance based. So he's going to randomly lunge his arm out at at a player. Again, it seems like it is at a distance base. So if you're the furthest player out, expect to be the one getting hit by his long ranged arm. And then he summons, I believe he summons, he doesn't summon any ads, but not yet at least. He's going to summon a ring around him. And when he summons a ring around him, make sure you have one player on the outside, preferably not the tank or healer. Keep them on the inside. And then you have the 2 DPSs on the inside as well, and have 1 DPS on the outside. The reason why you want to do this is because there's going to be ads that spawn on the outside. The DPS on the outside can kite them around or decide to kill them. The boss, once he spawns that ring, the DPS, or both DPSs, healer and tank, need to break his stamina gauge. Otherwise, it's going to cause a wipe, hitting for like 5.7 mil to everyone. It's unavoidable if you don't break that the DPS check. And then this boss will also dive into the ground, and you're going to see some light blue goo on the ground. That's going to build up your blight, or build down your blight. It's going to damage your blight, and once your blight hits to 0, then you're just going to start taking damage over time for like 120 seconds, which is kind of unnecessary. So I would highly recommend to bring blight tinctures, at least the weak ones, because they're super cheap and easy to make. That way you can ignore the blight resistances or blight damage and all that. Unfortunately, I forgot to bring my, well, actually everyone in the dungeon forgot to bring it. But as you can see, Knighting is on the outside, kiting all those ads and killing them, because he's also a fire mage, so it's pretty easy for him to just kill all those ads without much of an issue. And if he does end up getting caught, he can also just dash away. Something I would also like to add on is this boss will sometimes spawn like a little swarm. Make sure you actually don't go into the swarm because it does do quite some damage. And then when he's also bouncing around like this, make sure you do block. And then the ability he does here, where he summons like a skull with claws, kind of like the first boss in Depths, how he does that. It's the same thing except this boss hits harder. Make sure you are constantly blocking because a lot of pretty much all of his attacks will hurt a lot. Now, after you've defeated that boss, you're gonna go ahead and see this, I guess, altar, not altar, but like a little flame pit. You're gonna have one of the DPSs pick up the torch, and once they do that, you're basically just gonna clear all these ads. The torch is used for opening, I guess, the gates or whatever you want to call it. It's basically a gate with vines on it. And once you open the first one, there's going to be a named elite. And I honestly wasn't even aware. I didn't even realize this boss was even there. So I kind of let my guard down and didn't hold my block as much as I should have. So I ended up dying. So yeah, just know that there is going to be a named elite named Circes, and he does hit pretty hard, or she, whatever it is. But it is pretty much the same thing. You're gonna just destroy the hive and then kill the ads right after. But you basically need to make sure that DPS gets the torch every time. They don't have to necessarily hold it. Like for instance, when here, they don't have to hold the torch here. They just open it, drop it, help kill, and then have to go pick up the torch again, and then they're gonna open the other vine gates. So there's gonna be another vine gate on the left that he can, or I guess you can call it the torchbearer, can open. But we actually don't go there. We go straight. So we're basically going around. But on my left, right here, that's where the torchbearer can actually use it there, and then go around and use it on the next gate, and then there's going to be one more gate that they would use it on. So after you defeated the Hive and these last fiends with the last few ads, you're gonna have another elite named enemy at the last Vine Gate or whatever you want to call it. So make sure your DPS, whoever the DPS is still holding the torch, is still being the torchbearer. So what's going to happen is the tank, you're going to go ahead and aggro all these enemies, and then the torchbearer is going to just go ahead and run right past everyone, just so he can light the vines or the vine gate on fire. And I don't know what happened here. I just got instantly pulled and pushed behind, so I try to get my way around. But you're going to have that torchbearer go and destroy that vine. So once he does, he's going to be able to, he or she, I guess, can help damage or help kill these ads as well. But make sure you do also put the torch back into the, I guess, the lamp or whatever you want to call it. So now you're about to head to the last boss. When you're running to this shrine, make sure you actually run into it or run towards it and not just like skim it, because what happened to my friend for this first time we ran this, he just like ran kind of past it and we ended up dying, and he had to go all the way back to a different spawn rather than this one. So make sure you do run there. And another thing, before you start this boss fight, do not let any make sure nobody is standing on the bridge, because the bridge does disappear and then they instantly die. So this boss is actually pretty easy and it's actually really fun to fight. It's got a few mechanics. For example, one of the mechanics is it's going to target one person. So the one person it targets is going to have like a giant aura around them. Right here, as you can see, they have a like a poison aura. What happens is after a few seconds of that having that on you, you're gonna leave a poison puddle. Make sure if you get that, you are on the outside of the map, or you at least go to the outside of the map. Unfortunately, in the very beginning, Knighting did get killed because the boss did a scream attack. When the boss does a scream attack at you, make sure you move out of the way. If you're the tank, you just block that attack because you won't take any damage. But if you are DPS with low health or just a healer or whatever, if you cannot block that attack, then make sure you get out of the way. And then also, this boss does drop out boulders. She's also going to spawn some ads, but these guys honestly don't really matter. They're really easy to kill. But she's going to drop some boulders, and you'll see an outline. Just move out of the way. And you do want to make sure you use that boulder, though, because there's going to be a mechanic where she's going to scream, and you have to get behind it. And then there's going to be two orb, I guess, poison balls that she throws out, and they also leave a trail of poison. So make sure you can kind of like weave your way through, or hopefully your heal is just strong enough to heal through all that. And also just keep in mind that a lot of her attacks are very strong. So as a tank, when she does that slam, you can either try to block it or just move out of the way from it. As you can see, as the tank, I ended up getting it, and then I just decided to run towards the edge. But I kind of like collided it with another one, so I'm taking double the damage right there. But right here, she is using the scream. When you see the whole entire field, kind of like I'll have waves going through it, that means she's going to use that one-shot ability, and that one-shot ability is going to, again, one-shot. So you have to make sure you do hide behind a rock. So my friend Gato actually decided to stay and try to kill the boss because the boss pretty much had less than 1% health left, but unfortunately he died. He was saved the first time because he was hit with the invulnerability on the hatchet. After, instead of taking the full damage, he just went down to 5 health. But hopefully this video helped you guys out. If it does, go and leave a like, comment, subscribe. I will be posting a Lazarus build or Lazarus dungeon guide walkthrough as well. The same thing I did with this as well as Dynasty. I don't know when I'm going to post that one. I've already done Lazarus a few times. I just haven't really bothered recording it because honestly, it's a fun dungeon. I just really dislike the last boss. The last boss is just extremely boring. But yeah, hopefully this video helped you guys out. If it does, go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you want to know the tank build that I'm using, I did post a video as well. It's a little different. I'm using the reverse stab as well instead of the shield bash, but for the most part, it's all still pretty much the same. But again, hopefully this helped you guys out. This is all Day1. Have a good day, good night, and peace.